And now, live from the Steel Twins recording studio in beautiful Traverse City, Michigan, it's your boys, the Cannonball, the Cannon, the Steel Twins. What's up, everybody? It's Wednesday night.
Yo, 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 homeboys.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. You know, we're just a tad behind, just a tiny little bit, but it's 7 o'clock and we are live and in living color, if you will, Jack.
That's right.
So, go ahead and grab your favorite beverage and, take a seat and just take a minute for the next several hours here. We hope to give you a brand of entertainment rivaled by few. So, before we do that, I think there's one thing we got to do. So everybody get your whoop whoop on. I got my Faygo. He's got his Mountain Dew. If you have a cap to your bottle, or if you have a pin, go ahead and pull that pin back. And hey, package, I got a question for you.
Yep.
What time is it?
It's time to get bombed.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, mate. Oh, yes.
Hey, for all you football nuts out there that are looking for some news on the Outside Blitz, the free agency preview episode is available now on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts. So we got to give a little shout out to the Outside Blitz, and we already have it's the Voltage. There he is,
Yay.
Our old buddy Will Odell, aka Low Voltage. My friend, it is good to see you in the stream here. I'm infinitely excited. I saw that I was on Facebook, and I looked at that and went, "Why is it refreshing?" But I don't see any dropped frames, so
no, we're good on that.
We are good. We are good, fam.
Yeah, we're good.
Yep. So I know we have at least one viewer. So
yes.
Since we've made our quota, let's get going here. Hang on. Yep. Okay. Oh, it's a little. Okay, maybe it'll catch up. Fingers crossed. Well, we will have game audio, folks.
Yep.
Trust me on this.
Yes, we do.
Just a little delay, just a little outside.
Yeah,
but that's fine. Oh boy. Yeah, it's definitely high voltage now. Hey. So okay. Maybe they caught up finally.
I hope so.
No, it didn't.
No,
it's okay. That's fine.
Yeah. We apologize.
I think it'll. You know what? I really. Let's find this. I don't. Let's see. Let's just go with it. I don't think anybody's going to notice. They're going to be too enthralled with our voices and our big ugly mugs. So, hey, based. By the way, shout out to our boy Lizard Kaka 01, our latest Twitch follower. So good to see you. So, all right. So, grab a chip, grab a drink, grab a seat. It is time to continue the adventure of the clouded Kokoro.
Good news. The check cleared. It's go time.
Let's just deal with it.
Yeah.
It's going to bug me throughout the whole episode, though. 20th of February, 9:23 a.m., the Old Bailey, Defendant's Antechamber. Well, I never expected this. Who would have thought we'd be back here again so soon?
We are on a study tour of Great Britain with the intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we need as much court experience as possible.
Well, yes, I suppose that's true, but for the person in the dock, it may well be his or her one. Okay, I screwed this up the last time. For the person in the dock, it may well be his or her one and only time in court, and it could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as research may seem a little crass.
Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right. Good morning.
Ah, Mr. Natsume, good morning.
Oh dear. Are you alright? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot. The early bird catches the worm, as they say here in Britain.
Yes, I've heard that expression.
But I really don't want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately not to wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink. And now I'm absolutely exhausted as a result.
Do all literary people take things so literally?
Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume. I wish I had 9 lives! My whole future hangs in the balance! I'm...
Maddie!
Maddie!
No, he's not going to say he's Maddie, but thanks for so much for liking the stream.
Too terrified to tremble!
Really? Because I could feel tremors in the floor.
I can't do this. I can't take it. Although, look-up student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
Yes?
I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of the opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London.
Oh, neither did I. Do you know why that might be, Mr. Sato?
I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, but I have no idea.
So that all-knowing look on your face is just coincidence then, is it?
Don't hide the truth from me! It's because of the Reaper, isn't it?
Huh? Lord Van Zieks? Is that right, Mr. Sato?
I purchased as many different newspapers as I could find this morning, and yes, Lord Van Zieks is on the front page of every one.
I knew it!
Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey, he stopped appearing in court, it seems. It's been several years now, in fact, until the day before yesterday.
Yes, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he?
The trial 2 days ago marked Lord Van Zieks' return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus.
The trial of Magnus McGilded. Ugh, what a harrowing experience that was.
I believe that appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's.
But we wouldn't have realized, of course, having only just arrived in the country.
Yeah.
And we have Alex Pulowski liking the stream.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for liking the stream.
I hope we can make your date night.
Why is the Reaper back in the Bailey so soon for what appears to be a mundane murder? That's the question the papers are asking, and they are all speculating various answers. Mundane? Mundane? It's the most significant saga of the century to some of us! Oh dear, I meant no offense, Mr. Natsume, but that is how the papers are describing it. Well, lest we all forget the fact that it could spark an international incident. Obviously, the reappearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. But there's another blatant similarity with the trial of 2 days ago. Yes, I agree. Look up, student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. It's you!
Me? Well, I suppose that's true.
Both times, it is you who stands against this legendary prosecutor. It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper!
Please, I don't rub shoulders with death bringers.
I'm afraid that there's really only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Naruhodo, of your uncommon bad luck.
Oh, jeez. Thanks for that.
Oh, this is just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune? By the least lucky lawyer alive!
Well, let's not forget that it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Yes, it's true that I'm just a student, new to London, with little in the way of experience or skills, or luck. But I promise you this. I will fight your corner until the bitter end, and I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume.
Oh, benevolent locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we will always be on your side. Oh, benevolent non-locum assistant, Miss Nokitoba Esquires. I am in your debt forever! I shall never forget this. Mr. Natsume, counsel for the defense. The court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way to the courtroom at once.
All right then, Mr. Natsume. It's time. Let's go.
Yes!
That poor bastard.
Yep.
Well, this is it. My second appearance in a British courtroom. My second trial against the Reaper. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because this time, I won't let my faith waver. I'll believe in my client to the last. Just like you believed in me. I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. Well, it's all well and good, playa.
All right, here we go.
20th of February, 10 a.m., the Old Bailey Courtroom.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed.
The prosecution is fully prepared, my lord.
The defense is ready, my lord.
The Nipponese are a truly fascinating breed.
Sorry, what?
Lord Strongheart has told me all about you. That you're a student who arrived in London about 2 days ago. A mere amateur.
Do you have a point?
Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance.
Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description.
Sato-san.
After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent.
Really, though? Really?
Very true. And a most fascinating, if dark, trial it was, too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted and his unfortunate violent end.
Huh?
Thank you, counsels. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public?
You never know when you might be down on your luck, but I believe in fair play for everyone.
Well, I must warn you, I'm rather more ruthless than I appear.
Eh, well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fella.
I'm afraid to say, I think it's quite possible that Mustache Foreigner did the deed.
Come on, what we waiting for? No doubt he did it anyway.
Sorry, didn't quite catch that.
Very well, let us proceed. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Van Zieks.
Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with a rising power in the Far East. The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Soseki Natsume. And while our country has extended its foreign students the warmest of welcomes, regrettably the kindness has not been returned. In fact, this student is accused of a most sinister act. Of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street.
A knife crime? I tell you from bitter experience, those are the worst. Bloody oath they are.
Just look at that sallow complexion and short stature. He's one of those dreadful Japanese.
Come on, let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3.
Sorry, didn't quite catch that. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hallowed chalice here in this great chamber. Allow me to call the first witness to the stand.
Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please.
Here we go.
Yep.
Our old Dick Gumshoe.
Yep. Your name and occupation, please.
Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard.
Would you please summarize the events of the case for the court, Inspector?
The victim was thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green.
I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be.
Yes, having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since.
What? So they don't even know who she is for sure?
Comatose. I see. But her life is not in danger?
Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector.
Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at the street map.
Here we go.
As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago, at around 5 in the afternoon. It happened on the pavement running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared, and she's currently being treated into one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we were unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the case file with everything we know about the victim so far.
Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please.
Case file has been entered into the court record. A file containing an overview of the case and details about the victim. She was found with a knife in her back and is currently in hospital, yet to regain consciousness.
What of the weapon that was used?
Sir, I have that here. It was removed from the victim's back.
Ouch. That big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now.
With a heavy blade like that, almost anybody would have been able to stab the poor woman.
Even a scragged-looking Soseki-san, I suppose.
A common or garden jackknife, I would say, rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence.
Jackknife out of
The court record. Large but commonplace folding knife was found lodged in the victim's back.
Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume?
From what we can tell by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems like she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have had anything much worth pinching, my lord.
I see. Well, in that case, are we looking at some deep-seated resentment toward the victim?
I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting second-hand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim.
Yes. If theft and grievance had been ruled out as the motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have had for stabbing the young woman? Yet you arrested the man in spite of that, in a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way.
Objection!
Across the room.
Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery, but your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here.
What?
Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest the Nipponese student.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's gonna bug me.
Yeah,
But we could wait till the blinking lights, I think. That might help.
Mr. Natsume's arrest.
As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there was an unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Those being a number of old books he just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out where the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him.
Old books, you say?
Yes, my lord. I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime, taken immediately after the incident.
There it is.
Ah, yes, I can clearly see the books to which you are referring. I will take that photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector.
Crime scene photograph has been entered into the court record. Photograph of the scene taken by a policeman just after the incident occurred. Large knife can be seen thrust into the victim's back.
You Nipponese are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeat. Denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary.
Well,
Forgive me, Lord Van Zieks, but the defendant is not denying everything as you put it.
What are you doing, Miss Sasato?
Do go on.
Mr. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, now you mention it. When we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what had all happened.
As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran, as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings. A green overcoat?
Well, that's exactly what a woman in that print is wearing.
Oh my, a photographic print in full colour. What would the world come up with next?
The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back.
There was nobody else there at the time, just the two of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there is nobody else who could possibly have stabbed the woman. A fact that the accused concedes.
It seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please.
Yes, my lord. Nothing for it. I have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Cross-examination time.
Mr. Natsume's arrest.
As I said, 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, there was an unusually light fog.
Hold it! A light fog, you say?
Well, late for London. You could see the opposite side of the street for once. Not much farther though.
That's light, is it?
But in these parts, yes. Not something I expect a Japanese fellow like yourself to know, of course.
I've read that London is famous for its fog, but in my country, people usually imagine that it gives the city a rather beautiful appearance.
quaint.
Yes, well, it's not something us Londoners tend to romanticize as I expect you can appreciate.
I see.
At this time of year, the fog causes a large number of accidents, especially when it's heavy. Sometimes you can't even see your own hand at the end of your arm.
Indeed, the other day I was very nearly trampled by horses before I could see the carriage they were pulling.
Susato-san and I definitely remember to stop, look, and listen. Should definitely remember to stop, look, and listen.
However, on the day that it concerns us, the fog was somewhat lighter than usual. A fact no doubt lamented by the accused.
Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused.
Hold it! How are you able to state that with any certainty?
Quite simply, my learned friend, because that is what the witnesses to this crime have told us.
Ah, yes. Inspector Gregson mentioned the witnesses yesterday, didn't he?
That's right. One of them is a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard. That is correct, ma'am.
Then we must hear their testimony.
The prosecution will of course call them to the stand, should it be necessary.
But wait a minute. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the middle of winter, it would have been dark already. No matter how light the fog might have been, no one could have seen...
I'm unaware of the situation on your tiny island in the east. But here in the capital city of Great Britain, all the main roads are illuminated in the night by gas streetlights.
Ah!
The prosecution believes there would have been ample light by which to witness the crime.
Quite. Here in London, for the first time in history, mankind has completely conquered the darkness.
Which means we really need to hear those witness statements. If I could just get through the fog of this cross-examination, maybe we'll be able to.
It seems the counsel for the defense is taking stock. Continue with your testimony, Inspector.
Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement.
Hold it! From behind, you say?
That's right, as you can see from his print.
Yes, quite so, Inspector. The handle of the weapon is clearly protruding from the victim's back. And you say this poor woman, Miss Green, remains in a critical condition, comatose no less?
I'm afraid so, my lord. Yes, she's being treated at Bart's. I was hopeful that she had come round before the trial started so I could take a statement, but it wasn't to be.
Yes, that is indeed a pity. It would have been most illuminating to hear the victim's own account of events.
Luck is on your client's side, it seems.
Huh? On the contrary, my client has been exceedingly unlucky.
Your force of tone is seriously undermined by those disturbingly wide eyes, I'm afraid.
The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor.
Hold it! Mr. Natsume's belongings?
I think you'll find it's all there in the photographic print of the crime scene.
Yes, the 3 books on the floor.
That's right, my lord. Second-hand books they were. Irreparably damaged after falling in the snow, of course.
The accused could easily have carried all 3 books in one hand, which means his other hand would have been free to wield a knife, for example.
He's very clever, isn't he?
What do you mean?
He's made it extremely hard for you to assert that Mr. Natsume had his hands full with his books. He's managed to close the one avenue of escape we might have had before we even knew it was there.
You mean to say that the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust the knife into the woman's back?
Yeah, that must be what happened, my lord, yes. Those being a number of old books he just bought, he was on his way home from the bookshop, it seems.
Hold it! The defendant apparently visits a secondhand bookshop on a daily basis.
Yes, so you understand. A shop full of old English literature.
I commend the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention.
The block's room was stacked floor to ceiling with those musty old books.
Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector?
Well, if I must, I'll have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid. The closest second-hand bookshop to the accused lodgings is this place, Bourbon Books.
Well, I don't know about that shit.
A little place on the corner of Briar Road and Meerschaum Street. As it happens, the accused is currently living in lodgings on the other side of Briar Road at the opposite end. Which means it doesn't take a genius to walk out the road he wouldn't have taken home. He would have.
Would have, if it was Bourbon Books.
Something like this.
The local map's information has been updated in the court record.
That's right.
So I think I know what to hit him with here.
Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop.
Mr. Hodo, I think that what the inspector just told us could turn out to be of vital importance.
Yes, I agree. Most important point that the inspector just made being...
The bookshop's name.
Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favor?
What?
Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance.
Maybe?
Oh, well, you know, I mean, yes! It could be a very important clue.
Very well, not that I can see it being of any great significance, but please revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector.
Yes, sir, my lord. Whatever you say.
May you be any more sardonic?
He was on his way home from Bourbon Books, a second-hand bookshop he apparently patronizes.
Well, let's take a look at the court record. This secondhand book receipt was from your books.
That's right.
So, say it with me, everybody. Objection!
Objection!
If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson.
What does it, sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know.
This is a receipt that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident and details the purchase of 3 secondhand books.
And you found that in the accused's room, did you?
Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it.
Go on.
This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books.
Your books? Y-O-R-E, I presume?
Yes, my lord. So Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a secondhand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books.
What?
Inspector, do you know of this other bookshop?
Yes, sir. Your Books is another second-hand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that, well, it's such a small place that he didn't think the accused would have known about it.
Objection!
Objection! But in fact, that is the bookshop which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it.
Objection!
Objection. Yes, for what difference it makes. Wherever the man purchases musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis.
Objection!
Objection! I disagree. I mean, after all,
I have the street map here, if that might be of help.
Yes, thank you. Have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been returning from Bourbon Books, then yes, he would almost certainly have passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, if we take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books, it may very well turn out that he wouldn't have passed that location at all.
Could that be true?
My, it rather depends on where this other bookshop is, but I do declare it may be a possibility.
Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? What you just said? Absolutely. It absolutely could be right.
Inspector Gregson, where is this Your Books establishment?
Well, obviously we looked into that. Turns out that Your Books is just here on the next corner of Mearshop Street, going east.
Uncle Map's information has been updated in the court record. Aha! And there you have it. As you can clearly see now... Oh.
My learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be a clown, the way he regals us with such witticisms. To your future career in the circus.
You put that glass down now, or I'll put it down for you! Hey, I didn't think I needed to spell it out, but here we go. If the accused was coming home from Your Books instead of Barok Books, there's no doubt he still would have passed the place when the victim was stabbed.
Damn it.
Yes, thank you, Inspector.
Allow me to reiterate from my learned if somewhat slow Nipponese friend. Wherever the man perches his musty toes, it makes no difference in the final analysis.
Ah!
As I suspected, you can't fool me, and I don't suggest you try.
What did I say, eh? I've had enough of this now.
Beg your pardon, terribly sorry, but would you mind repeating that?
Mr. Naruhodo, we mustn't give up.
What do you mean?
If the prosecution's assertion is correct, the members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty.
Ah, she's absolutely right.
We must think. We must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully.
They claim Soseki-san must have passed the location of the incident on his way home from Your Books. But...
Raise an objection.
Raise an objection. The assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed.
Explain yourself, counsel.
Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map. Returning from Your Books to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. If the defendant used these streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked.
Objection!
Objection. Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that route is what is commonly referred to as the long way round. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home?
Well,
The answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings and is the obvious perpetrator of this crime.
Objection! But... Aha, yes, I've got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home.
I have already informed the court of the accused's response to such questioning. He claims he has no recollection.
That's right. As I said, the bloke seems to spend his time outside, wandering aimlessly from A to B. That day was no exception. He says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home.
I don't believe this!
I thank you, my learned friend, and suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say you, insightful jurors?
But even if that is the case, the defense still...
Hold it! I agree with Lord Van Zieks, wholeheartedly and in every way.
What? I don't believe it. Does this mean...
We members of the jury are completely convinced now. Very well. In that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury to present your findings to the court.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty.
Take it away.
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty!
Damn it. Oh, boy.
It would appear the jury's leaning is unanimous.
To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve Queen and country admirably.
Mr. Naruhodo.
No, not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. Huh? I have to tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around. Somehow.
Those are the eyes of Corey, not yet willing to give up and die. So I presume you intend to wield your right again in this trial. Right of the defense written to antiquated British law that should have been buried long ago.
Call it antiquated if you will, but it's the defense's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses.
Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with a summation examination. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman?
Of course we're ready. I'm all too familiar with that deputy's whippersnapper and his uncle's refusal to throw in his alley.
Very well then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty.
Okay, here we go.
Lock and load, ladies and gentlemen. Judicial findings. The jurors' contentions.
For pretty sick, that little Nipponese already admitted it himself, didn't he?
If he said that a woman, Great Queen, collapsed before his eyes, why can it only have been the victim?
Man wasn't a going around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. Not in the winter.
So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? Oh, dreadful.
Really don't care. Why don't we just wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing.
You press him on that.
More books, yes? A shop that, but Burton books? No, not worth a visit. With only minor exceptions, the reasons for finding the defendant guilty are all too clear.
When the stabbing occurred, the only two people at the scene were the victim and the accused. And the accused himself has admitted to seeing the victim in her green overcoat sink into the ground before his eyes.
Furthermore, we have heard from the inspector that the defendant then fled the scene. I must say I would have ample grounds to convict this man already.
Oh dear. Even the judge appears convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt now.
Why did he have to run away like that? And how are we supposed to believe in some phantom attacker that nobody could see? It's impossible. How could I possibly make a case for the defense?
Mr. Naruhodo, this is no time for grumbling. If we want to force the trial to continue...
Yes, I know. I have to turn the tide. I must make the jurors change their minds. Well, 4 of them at least.
Exactly. We have no choice but to forge forward.
You have the floor, counsel. Begin your summation examination.
Yes, my lord. Phew. Just need to keep this trial going somehow. Whatever it takes. Come on, Ryunosuke. You can do it.
Yep.
Here we go. Jury examinations. Defense's rebuttal.
Oh, for pity's sake, the little Nipponese already admitted himself, didn't he?
Hold it! Excuse me, but aren't you...
Yes, that's right. I was in the witness stand myself just now, 2 days ago.
Yes, I had a feeling I knew your face. Or the side of it, anyway. If I remember correctly, you're a banker, aren't you?
That's right. After the gold rush down under, I came back to London to work. And it was all going swimmingly until you started fossicking around. Bruce Fairplay was a man of repute.
Sorry?
Don't think I've forgotten how you treated me the other day. You had me and that young hunter pegged as criminals.
Oh, well, you know, water under the bridge.
And there's all sorts of rumors buzzing around, and the police have been badgering me non-stop.
If I could turn back the clock...
Well, anyway, I don't know about the hunter, but at least I'm in the clear now. I'm free to make up my own mind about who's guilty and who isn't.
Thank goodness. Alright, maybe I might struggle to change this man's mind, given our awkward history.
Oh dear. I wonder what's become of Mr. First now.
If he said that the woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why, it can only have been the victim.
Hold it! You're right that at the time of the incident, the defendant admits to having seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him.
Well, quite. That's precisely my point. Clearly, that someone wearing green was the victim. And clearly, that funny little Nipponese man with the disturbing mustache is the culprit.
But let us not forget, madam, the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman.
Why, of course he does. If he admits to stabbing her, his life is over. The man is obviously a liver-faced coward. Honestly, claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes.
But if that's a lie as you're suggesting, do you not think he would have concocted something more credible?
Oh, I really couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Who's to say what goes through your funny little minds?
I could tell you what's going through my funny little mind right now. You wouldn't like it.
I do declare the man has already made the admission. He himself has stated that there was nobody else around. Surely the conclusion is obvious. No one else could possibly have committed this awful crime. If no one else could have done it, the accused must be the man. Really, it couldn't be more simple.
Your argument is compelling in its simplicity, I must admit.
Oh my, you're too kind, my lord.
That went well. For her. Man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. Not in the winter. Hold it! but you can't deny that there are other routes Mr. Natsume could have taken back from your books. Oh, yes. Like you drew on the map, you mean? What was it? Calabash Road or something? Precisely. It seems to me that what counts is whether the little Japanese fellow actually went that way or not. Well, yes, that's true. At the moment, there's no proof that shows he did, is there? Well, yes, that's true as well. As I understand it, the accused himself doesn't remember which way he went, does he? Well, yes, that's annoyingly true. Winter nights are dark and cold, so the way I see it, you want to get home as quickly as possible. Well, yes. Why is all this true? It's really, the only thing that makes sense is he went home along Briar Road. Ah! I'm supposed to be convincing you here. I've given it a lot of thought, you know. I didn't just make up my mind on a whim that he did it. I mean, if there was some logical reason why he might have gone the Calabash Road way, it'd be different. I'd be happy to reconsider my position in that case. Honest, I would. A reason why Soseki-san might have taken the longer way home.
Yes, a good reason. I don't imagine you'll be able to sway this young man's opinion without one.
Well, we'll find one.
So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful.
Hold it!
Whatever is the matter, young man?
You're the wife of Mr. Garrett, aren't you? The landlord who rents Mr. Natsume's room.
The master's wife? Where do you get your idea, sir? I'm the maid. The maid, you understand.
She's keeping up that charade? Ugh, it's gonna be awkward. Why didn't you mention this yesterday? That you'd been selected for the jury in this trial, I mean.
Well, I was told not to mention it to anyone until the day of the trial, you see. It was in a letter I received. The instructions were very clear, so I'm afraid I had no choice.
I see. Anyway, Mr. Natsume, the defendant, takes lodging in your master's house, doesn't he?
Yes, that's right. Although he's only been a little over a week now.
And in that time, surely you must have taken stock of his character. Does Mr. Natsume look like the kind of man who would commit a crime such as this?
Oh my goodness me, yes, he's just the sort.
What?
Spending all his time in that dark and dingy room, sporting an unscrupulous mustache. The man never speaks. And don't get me started on those city highs. All the neighbors are talking about him. I've heard them, you know. People think he must be building a bomb there or something. Oh dear, poor Mr. Natsume. How could people say such things about him? He's just a harmless bookworm, nothing more.
Well, you just call him a worm, so... Anyway, I better be careful about inviting this maid to speak. She's said enough damning things already. I really don't care. Can't we just wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing. Hold it! A man's life is on the line here, sir. This will take as long as it takes. Don't get clever with me now, son. My life's on the line too. So is my family's. Like you wouldn't understand, but a laborer like me can afford to take time off. If I don't work, I don't eat, and neither do the wife and kids. Oh, I see. That must be very hard. I go to the union every morning to find out what needs doing. You're late and the work's taken. It's tough. This time of year, there's water and gas supply pipes bursting left, right, and center. They're after cheap labor to get the roads dug up to fix it. It's a hard slog from dawn till dusk it is. So, you were out digging up the roads on the day of the incident as well, were you? That's right. In fact, if I remember rightly, it was just round the corner from where it all happened. By that old bookshop it was. What? Another coincidence? That's right. Meerschaum Street it was. Meerschaum Street.
On the map, Mr. Naruhodo, there are only 3 named streets.
Juror number 5, I need you to add that information to your formal statement, please. What's the point in that? Can't we just get this business over with now? Please, sir, it's important. Fine, I'll do it then. The day it happened, I was digging up Meerschaum Street from dawn till dusk.
I think there's a contradiction here.
Objection! Those two statements are clearly at odds with one another.
At odds, counsel? Explain yourself.
Please don't point. It wasn't me, I swear.
I what?
I just won't get this done and dusted. Well, juror number 3? Oh, me, sir. What do you mean? Juror number 5's words just now are extremely significant. Let's take a moment to consider the implications of what's been said on our map of the local area. On the day in question, Mr. Natsume visited this bookshop to purchase a number of secondhand books. And on the same day, we now know that there were works being carried out on Meerschaum Street, making it impassable. Which means that the defendant's route home could not have taken him along Meerschaum Street and down Briar Road. Oh, yes, of course. Well, what do you think, sir? Well, yes, you can't argue with that, really, can you? We must have had a good 2 yards or more of the pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way. So the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken a longer route back to his lodgings. Yes, I suppose he must have. I suppose I must be right, eh? Juror number 3, you said the following. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. But we see now that he had no choice. Yes. My lord, Mr. Judge, sir, if I may?
Yes?
I don't think in all good conscience that I can say the man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see this trial continue so we can get to the bottom of what really happened. Not guilty.
One down.
What about you, sir?
Me?
Huh. Well, right then. If there's a hole in the prosecution's argument, it should be filled in, that's what I say. Not guilty. There we go.
Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. That was wonderful.
Well, we managed to change a couple of minds at least. It strengthened our position somewhat.
Yes, and it will prompt the other members of the jury to reconsider their stance as well. They'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not. Now, if we could just identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop doubting Mr. Natsume, we might be able to tip the balance completely.
Yes, that's exactly what we've got to do. Van Zieks is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. That's what we have to prevent by whatever means we have at our disposal.
Thank you, counsel. On with the summation examination, please.
Yes, my lord. Okay, so we're gonna chip.
Your books, yes. I saw that. But bourbon books? No, not worth a visit.
Hold it!
Sorry, food, you say? Food what?
No, what I said was, hold it. What I wanted to ask was, do you visit your books often?
I like the old books they have in there, yes. I enjoy reading them over a nice cup of old tea. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about.
And at what time did you visit your books on the day in question?
Well, I was picking out books in there all afternoon, and it would have been just before 5 that I left. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about.
Just before 5, you say? Exactly when the victim was attacked. Are you sure about the time?
Yes. No mistake there. I remember it well. I'm not about to forget that day in a hurry. Not after the dreadful time I had.
What do you mean?
Well, I was walking down Calabash Road when I slipped on the ice and donked my head. It's always worse after the snow stopped falling. That's when it's most slippery. Knocked myself clean out, I did. I really thought my number was up.
Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. This happened on Calabash Road?
That's right. I live in Cornpipe, you see. Heading down Calabash Road is the quickest way for me to get back from your books.
Juror number 6, I must insist that you add that information to your formal statement. It may very well be extremely significant.
Huh? Sorry. Extremely sick. Oh no, I'm quite alright now. You've changed 2 of the jurors' minds, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, just 2 more to go.
Deliver the finishing blow now. It's time to turn the tables here.
Wish I knew how to do a Sasato takedown. I suppose words will have to suffice for now.
Oh, for pity's sake, the little nippity son of me already admitted that himself, didn't he?
If he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why can only have been the victim?
Well, there's a little problem with that, Toots.
I slipped over that evening myself on Calabash Road. I knocked myself clean out, you know.
Objection! Those 2 statements clearly show a flaw in the juror's reasoning.
A flaw? What are you talking about, counsel?
Well, juror number 2, juror number 6.
My, whatever do you mean, sir?
I think perhaps the old man didn't hear you.
Unbelievable. It's not like I was loud or anything. There is at least one fact of which we can be sure here. The bookshop receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that on the day of the attack, he had been to your books and purchased a number of secondhand titles. He then returned home on foot.
But the man says he has no recollection of his return journey.
That's correct. But what he does remember is seeing someone appear in front of him on the way. Someone in a green overcoat who suddenly collapsed on the pavement before his eyes.
Yes, we are all well aware of.
Okay, hold on. Yes,
We are well aware of all this. The poor young woman was stabbed, obviously.
objection! Can we really be sure of that, madam?
My, whatever do you mean?
I'm sure you heard juror number 6's account of what happened to him on that day. That same afternoon, there was somebody else apart from the victim who was wearing a green overcoat and who fell over on the icy streets in the neighborhood.
Oh my!
My goodness, you mean... That's right. I'm referring, of course, to hard of hearing juror number 6.
Are you really suggesting that the person in the green overcoat whom the defendant saw collapse in front of his eyes was the jolly old gentleman on the end of the bench here with me today?
That is entirely possible, yes. After all, the old man has a somewhat similar build to the victim. Well, look at that.
My goodness me! Huh? Sorry? You need a pee?
And crucially, we know precisely where the old man in the green overcoat fell.
On Calabash Road.
Therefore, if the person whom Mr. Natsume saw collapsing in front of him was in fact juror number 6, it means the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings. And if that's true, then clearly the crime scene on Briar Road where the woman was stabbed was not on his way home.
Oh my!
You idiot old man, you haven't been so daft as to be roaming about there. We'd have boxed this off hours ago.
And really, what were you thinking wearing such a befuddling coat? What did you say to me? Is it a crime for the elderly to walk the streets these days? Is it a crime to slip over on the ice? Is it a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat, is it?
Huh?
Hold it. My lord, I do hope it won't cause any inconvenience, but
You'd like to change your leaning, I presume.
I do declare that I would. I should like to call for a verdict of not guilty.
Huh. Thank you.
I would too.
What?
Is it a crime to change your mind, is it? Well, not guilty.
And there you go. Once again.
Well, that summation examination hasn't concluded with a large shift in opinion. The ayes 2, the noes 4. So the noes have it. Not guilty, they say. Which means we no longer have a consensus among the members of the jury. The trial will continue.
Objection!
Objection. Could it seem churlish of me to drink from my hallowed chalice moments after raising an objection, only to crush it in disgust? Pray, forgive the discourtesy.
Lord Van Zieks.
It seems I must retract my earlier remark.
What do you mean?
I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer.
Eh?
Whatever do you mean?
Objection! I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I've said is the truth.
Indeed, stalwart juror number 5 is undoubtedly repairing the road, as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement which you had excavated, sir.
That's right. Took me the whole day and they paid me a measly tuppence for it.
Now, my learned Nipponese friend, tell me, do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yards represents?
Well, if I'm honest, I don't have a clue, no.
2 yards is a little less than 2 meters.
Less than 2 meters? That's not much at all.
In other words, a distance readily vaulted by anyone of moderate vigor. Would you not agree, my stalwart friend?
Aye, me? Well, I can't say you're wrong, no. What?
And did you perchance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing sight of your works?
I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. No coaches would have had to overpass it anyway. And we just turn any gentlefolk back where they come. Kids just jump right over us all the time.
The accused is no gentleman as far as I can see. I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over 2-yard trench in his meanderings around town.
Ah,
Is that true? Is it?
The incontrovertible truth is that the books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. There can be no doubt that on his way back to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume walked down Briar Road.
ugh, crushed. A single sentence.
And, old man,
Old man, you can talk.
you say that at around 5 o'clock on the day in question, you slipped and fell on Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious-looking Nipponese behind you at the time?
Oh, I can't say as I remember.
You don't remember?
How about a wager, my learned friend? You say it was this old man that the accused saw. But I would lay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it.
Ah!
Order! Order! Lord Van Zieks, explain yourself.
My lord,
If you had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve, why in the world did you not proffer it during the summation examination?
I wanted to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. But my hospitality has its limits, and they have been reached, I feel. So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over.
What are you talking about?
My lord, the prosecution requests permission to call its next witnesses to the stand.
Granted. Bailiff, bring forth the witnesses.
Its next witnesses?
Mr. Naruto, do you not remember? We've been told on several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident.
Yes, I remember. One of them being a Scotland Yard policeman, no less.
I'm afraid that's likely to be the prosecution's next witness.
All right. No matter who Van Zieks brings to the stand as his witnesses, and no matter what they say, I believe in Soseki-san. I know he's innocent, and I'll keep believing to the very end, until this battle is over.
Well, okay,
Oh,
you
boy.
you can get the woman, I get the Bobby. Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court.
Constable Royal Beach, sir. Not to report on the streets, sir.
And I'm Mrs. Beat, but Trish is my name. I'm proud to say I'm this young town hero's wife.
Christ. What's the story here?
Well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary only the other day.
Oh no, it was your husband I was asking about. He seems tired.
Hardly surprising. Whilst being an honourable occupation, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world.
Oh, really? I'm sure I've heard that before, actually.
Indeed, apart from rare days off, our gallant officers trudge some 20 miles a day, you know. They patrol boarding houses and pubs, collect taxes, serve in the streets, check that meters are reading true, and they're responsible for keeping the streets clean and lighting and extinguishing our street lights.
There are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like policing duties at all.
I wouldn't just be falling asleep on my feet. I'd have collapsed long ago.
But it goes without saying that a policeman's primary duty is the apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, a constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crimes on his beat. For the London Bobby is a man of honor.
A man of slumber.
On the day in question, this man and his wife were walking down Briar Road in the opposite direction, and they witnessed the incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mrs. Beat?
That's right, sir. Isn't it, Rolly?
Constable Royal Beach, sir. Not to report on the streets, sir.
What a great witness he's going to be.
Very good. I'd like to hear your formal testimonies now, please. You will tell the court exactly what you saw on the afternoon of the incident.
Yes, sir.
He fell asleep.
This testimony What the witnesses saw.
It was our wedding anniversary, and Raleigh was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor. Then the other scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese man in the dark. Raleigh and I both saw him clear as day.
Why is he not?
Well, this is extremely compelling testimony, I must say.
Oh dear. This policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsume at the scene. If their testimony is true, the alternative course of events you established in the summation examination will be quashed.
It's death knell, in fact, because that alternative was never viable in the first place.
What an unfortunate chancing. And on your wedding anniversary, too.
Oh, I know, but I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. I thank the Lord for that.
Gosh, life of a London Bobby sounds very hard indeed.
Indeed. However, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon.
What do you mean by that?
My learned friend, the witnesses saw the face of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under oath that it was without doubt the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume. And one of these witnesses is a policeman, no less, so you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure.
Except that the man's so tired, his wife has to do all the talking.
Enough preamble. Counsel for the defense. Commence the cross-examination, please.
Yes, my lord. All right, cross-examination time.
What the witnesses saw.
It was our wedding anniversary, and Raleigh was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work.
Hold it. No time to change after work, you say? Are you also a member of the police? Are you also a member of the police, Mrs. Pete?
Oh no, sadly not. It's a job for strapping young men only. Women, children, and the elderly can't even apply.
Well, I think you can probably see why children and the elderly can't do the job, can't you?
I think Raleigh looks ever so handsome in his uniform. It suits you down the ground, doesn't it, darling?
Well, I just finished my beat. Pat and I will head back to the station. I was actually planning on getting changed there.
Is he talking in his sleep? This is creepy.
Oh no, Raleigh, I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes I don't recognize you when I see you in plain clothes.
Oh dear, that doesn't seem healthy.
Kindly adhere to the point. You're going for a meal after you had finished your beat for the day, correct?
That's right, sir. Yes, although I was fit to drop, to be honest, after spending the whole day on my feet. But police is my life, sir. As long as I'm the proud owner of this, I'll serve my city and my queen to the end.
What's that now?
My wanted card, sir. Proof that I'm a London copper. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it as a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty to patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. Sir, for such a noble cause, I cover 20 miles every single day without fail and without a grumble. Because I know that the pounding of my boots is all Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secure.
So, fighting crime doesn't appear to come into it then.
But sir, just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. Pete puts up with a lot being married to a Bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. Oh, Pat.
Oh, Raleigh.
Oh, what a charming couple. Their young love is such a joy to behold.
If a little over the top, perhaps.
And then, kindly describe what happened next.
Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us.
Hold it! Two silhouettes.
That's right. They were coming towards us, walking up Briar Road in the opposite direction. There was a rather plump figure, followed by a scrawny, thin-looking man.
That does sound exactly like the victim as pictured in this print, and like Mr. Natsume.
Yes, unfortunately it does.
And you're certain that at the time there was nobody else nearby?
Oh yes, quite certain. It was dark. There were streetlights on Briar Road, you see. There was nobody else around at all. Isn't that right, my darling?
What? Oh yes, that's right. Of course, there was a white fog on the ground. The Briar Road is dead straight, and you can see a fairly long way down the pavement. And then there's a street light as well. I didn't see any other pedestrians.
Before sleep takes a firm hold, your answer please, Mr. Beat. Are you quite sure of what you just said?
Yes, sir. As a cop who spends all day, every day, keeping watch on streets, I swear to it, sir. I'm sure, as my love for Patricia is true. Oh, Pat.
Oh, Raleigh.
You're still maintaining there was no one else around other than the victim and the attacker. It's starting to seem like that must be how it really happened.
It's beginning to seem like there's nowhere to run.
Well, that didn't stop Mr. Natsume, did it? He fled the scene all too convincingly.
Thank you. I believe we have a reasonably clear idea of the situation just before the incident now. What happened in the crucial moments that followed?
All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor. And then the other scattered something before running off.
Hold it. Scattered something? What do you mean by that?
Oh well, I couldn't quite make out what it was at the time. But then when we got closer, we realized what it was. Didn't we, darling?
What? Oh, yes, that's right. It was some old books.
I see. Old books.
Yes, sir. The culprit dropped a number of them, all around where the victim lay on the pavement.
Indeed, as clearly pictured in this photographic print.
That rotten Japanese man did that when he did the deed.
Hold it! Let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker.
But we saw him. It was a man in the dark without question, sir. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the tight mouth, the snub nose, everything.
Any more insults you want to throw in?
That's right. He looked down at that poor defenseless woman with those terrifying, intense eyes, and then suddenly threw his books onto the pavement and ran away.
I see. This is tough. Seems as though they're telling the truth here.
May I remind the court that this unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife. Now please, continue.
Yes, sir.
We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box.
Hold it! Was it your husband who went to fetch help?
No, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I am the proud wife of one after all. Isn't that right, my darling?
What? Oh, yes, that's right. I asked Mr. Beat to go. I was off duty at that point. But I was never truly off duty, of course. So so I felt obliged to stay and guard the scene.
Very laudable, Mr. Beat. Preserving the scene of a crime is a task of considerable importance.
That's why I said Patricia, you see. I told her where to find the right police box.
Forgive my ignorance, but what do you mean exactly by the right police box?
Depends on the crime's location, you see, as to who deals with it. Where the woman was stabbed wasn't actually on my beat. So I told Patricia the way to the police box where the beat the incident fell under so she could go and report it.
I ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help from the bobby on duty. There's nothing more potent than a young couple in love working together, you know?
And thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved. The actions of 2 model citizens.
Oh, please, you're making us blush. Isn't he, darling?
Yes, sir. What Patricia said, sir.
Let's move on, shall we?
It was definitely a Japanese man in the dock. Raleigh and I both saw him as clear as day.
Hold it! But surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you?
We absolutely could. Us Londoners have exceptional eyesight, I'll have you know.
Right.
The light from the street lamps was more than enough. And my husband already told you that the fog was only light, didn't he?
Yes. What of the fog?
We're famous for it across the globe, I believe, but it's an absolute menace to those of us who have to live with it, of course.
Oh, it is, it is. When it's thick, you can't even see the hand at the end of your own arm.
Yes, all right. I take your point. Now, could you stop shaking your husband about?
The constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. That's why we can tell you for sure and certain that it was that little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling?
What? Oh, yes. He was the accused, and no mistake. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snub nose. Unmistakable, sir.
As far as this couple's testimony is concerned, there can't be any question. It was Soseki-san they saw running away from the scene of the crime. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony.
What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, I hate to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. Beat saw what they say they saw. Mr. Natsume running away from the scene on Briar Road that day.
Yes, I feel the same.
So if that's true, where does it leave us?
The members of the jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict after this testimony.
Oh no! Then what do we do?
If Kazuma-sama were here,
Huh? What are you trying to say?
I think he would try to find a contradiction somewhere else within their testimony.
What do you mean somewhere else?
Her statement about seeing Mr. Natsume is unequivocal. Calling that into question won't help. But if you could identify some other part of their testimony which appears to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them, to make the jury doubt if the pair's memory of the day is accurate.
Oh, right.
Put simply, we must focus on finding a discrepancy in these statements somewhere. If we don't, I'm afraid the trial may reach an early and unfavorable conclusion.
Ugh, why do I always seem to see so up against it?
Alright, so we're just gonna replay again.
Replay it.
Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something?
Oh, yes, of course. What is it?
Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we've told you, so... It seems like you don't believe our testimony. Is that right? Is it? Well, out with it!
What? No. Oh no, it's really not that at all.
My husband's a policeman, remember? And I know what I saw. I remember every last detail. Everything. Like... Oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped?
I could tell you the names of every single one.
Could. Every single one.
My apologies.
And you dare to question how reliable my testimony is.
That will do, Mrs. Pete.
No, it won't do at all. That Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of. Even if I decide to forgive him for insulting us, don't think for a minute that Raleigh will.
I really didn't mean to cause offense. Please put your husband's fists down.
Perhaps you would like the opportunity to supplement your testimony, Mrs. Pete. Might that appease you?
Oh, thank you, my lord. That would settle things nicely. Wouldn't it, darling? I could even tell you the names of the 4 books he dropped at the scene.
Wait a minute.
Hold it.
Wait a minute now.
Hold it.
4? No, 3.
Objection!
Objection! So, you're saying that there were 4 books?
That's right. I remember all of them. The picture of Monsieur Somebody, What's It Yearnings, A Meal for Someone, and the Thingummy something.
What? I'm sorry, Mrs. Beat. But there is a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours.
No, what flaw?
Simply that, at the scene of the crime, there were only 3 books, not 4.
What?
Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime.
Every time I do,
It makes me laugh. As you can clearly see, there are only 3 books.
No, that can't be. I saw them. Oh, I know what it is. Yes, you can't fool me.
Sorry.
It's that big old lump of a dead body. The lady's so large, her corpse is blocking the view of the 4th book, that's all.
Let's at least try to remember that the poor woman isn't dead, even if we're insulting her size. No, I'm sorry, Mrs. Beat. But Mr. Natsume could not possibly have dropped the 4 books you described.
Why not?
Fascinating. And from your assured tone, something you could readily substantiate with evidence, I presume.
Huh? Ah, evidence.
Counsel, you will present evidence to substantiate your claim or withdraw
I
it.
think I know.
What proof do you have that the accused did not drop 4 books?
Well, let's take a look at this thing. So look at this. The sum of 2 shillings tendered in the receipt of the picture of Monsieur Lecoq, A Meal for Garibaldi, and Canterbury Yearnings. So she got some of them right, but how many books are there?
3.
Say it with your chest. Take that! The evidence is right here, in the form of this bookshop receipt.
From your books?
Yes, this receipt details Mr. Natsume's purchases that day, but as you can see, only 3 books are listed.
No.
Therefore, Mr. Natsume would have only dropped 3 books at the scene of the crime, which means that your powers of observation, madam, cannot be relied upon. So it cannot be denied that though you say it was the defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken.
Oh no, oh no, oh no! No!
Objection!
Objection! It's plainly evident that it is your powers of deduction that cannot be relied upon, my learned Nipponese friend.
What?
What cannot be denied is that these 2 witnesses saw the accused running from the scene, a fact that you know very well you have no hope of disproving.
So you've strived to avert attention for that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Will that be fair?
He sees right through me.
But your plan has somewhat recoiled against you.
What are you talking about?
It's quite simple. Let me explain with a toast. To the policeman's wife and her entirely accurate testimony in every aspect.
Oh,
You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene on Briar Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found.
Objection!
Objection! But what about the photographic print? It only shows 3 books.
Quite right. Only 3 can be seen in that print.
That print? You mean to say...
Allow me to present another, one that shows the victim's hand. Look. Hey, wait a minute.
Hey, wait a second. I don't believe it. Look at the title of the book.
The
Lion's Pride. It's the fourth book.
As you will observe, the 4th book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso.
No. No!
Order! Order!
there! You see? Look at that! Look!
Yes.
It's just like I said, isn't it, my darling?
Yes, sir. Patricia's always right, sir.
Let us study the receipt for the books purchased by the accused on the day in question. Mrs. Beat, the titles once again, if you please.
Oh, yes, of course. The picture of Monsieur somebody or other.
The picture of Monsieur Lecoq.
What's it, yearnings?
Canterbury Yearnings.
A meal for someone?
A meal for Gaborio, in fact. As the court has just heard, the witness remembers the book titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details. Mrs. Beat's powers of recollection can only be described as exceptional.
Did you hear that, Raleigh? The gentleman paid me a compliment.
Yes, sir. Flawless, sir. Patricia's flawless.
But there are only 3 books on the receipt, and Mrs. Beat mentioned 4.
There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly, the 4th book is that which is shown in this photographic print.
I'm sorry, Counsel, but does that not seem odd? Why should the 4th book be omitted from the receipt?
It's not odd at all, my lord. As the photograph clearly shows, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim.
Hold on a minute, man.
Wait a minute.
The victim was holding her own book?
I wonder, what became of that 4th book?
Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence.
You will submit that and the aforementioned photographic print to the court, please, Counsel.
My pleasure, my lord.
Second crime scene photograph has been entered into the court
A
record.
second photograph of the scene taken by a policeman just after the incident. It specifically shows the victim's hand.
The 4th book has been entered into the court record.
A book entitled The Lion's Pride, discovered in the victim's hand at the scene.
The prosecution rests. I have nothing further to add.
What?
You seem surprised, my learned friend, but your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The spurious longer route to the accused lodgings that you tried to establish in your summation examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination.
Futile? I walked right into this, didn't I?
You see, everything we've said is true. Isn't it right, my darling?
Oh, yes, Pot. Marry me, Pot.
So perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions should the court waste any more time on this Nipponese travesty. Or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? You have heard all of the witnesses and seen all of the evidence. This trial has run its course.
Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid we are in a terribly precarious position.
I know, but if I flight back in the wrong way now, I could very well just make matters worse. Think, Reinosuke, think! What do you do now?
Raise an objection.
Raise an objection all the time.
Objection!
Objection! I'm not done yet!
No, my learned friend, it's over. That last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense, and you failed. The die has been cast. There is no more room for debate.
Well, it might be over as far as you're concerned, but... I can't think of what to say.
If I may, Lord Van Zieks, it seems somewhat boorish to close down the debate at this point.
Your insignificant little Eastern Isle must be a lawless hole indeed, for a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene in a moment like this.
I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. So you will have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential and her opinions invaluable.
Mr. Naruhodo!
One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance. So, the court will hear you, madam.
Go ahead, Mrs. Sato. Please.
Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further?
Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished.
I see. And you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you?
Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think? It's just possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. So we must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible.
Yes, I understand. And thank you, Mrs. Sato. Let's not waste any time. Let's take a look at this. So the incident report. Young woman rendered unconscious following a stab wound to the back, olive green, female, stout build, early 20s, pavement of Briar Road, east side. Reporting officer, Rolly beat. Now hold on a second, it's east side, think about that. The victim remains unconscious, her name was gleaned from her personal effects. Other details are unknown. Apart from the single stab wound with a large knife, no other signs of injury were observed. The assailant was seen running away by the reporting officer and was successfully arrested the following day.
Well, what about that Lion's Pride book?
Give me a second. I also want to take a look at this. Oh, look at this.
Oh, look here, Mr. Naruhodo. Just at the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing.
You're right. Well spotted, Mrs. Sato.
I wonder what could have happened to it.
Yes. You don't think it could still be lodged in the victim, do you?
Oh dear, I do hope not. That sounds terribly painful. Well, that's all you can.
That's all I can glean from that piece of
Now
evidence.
look at the Lion's Pride book.
Yep.
Okay. Let me see. It's a book entitled The Lion's Pride.
I'm afraid I don't know any English literature at all, so it wouldn't be something I've heard. Wait a minute! The Lion's Pride? That's strange. I think I have heard of a book by that name before, and very recently too.
It's a title I recognize too, Mr. Naruhodo. Now look at the. It's
Oh,
burnt.
look at this.
Oh my. Oh, look at this. The book has been badly burnt.
You're right. You'd never be able to read it in this state, especially not the latter pages.
What a terrible waste. Judging from the scorched edges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently.
A book recently damaged by fire. Why does that seem to raise a red flag with me?
Oh, I know. Fourth
Yeah.
book's information updated in the court record. I think I know why, too.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, I don't have that, so okay. I think we're good here. This is it. Sasato-san has managed to win us at least one last chance here. I can't let it go to waste. The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord.
Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence. Evidence that apparently offers a profound insight to this case and has hitherto been overlooked.
The lion's... Nope, the second photograph.
Take that!
Take that! The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. The fourth book found in the victim's hand.
Objection!
Objection! We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know.
Yes, I'm afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. When I afforded you this opportunity, you led the court to believe that the evidence in question contained a hitherto undiscovered clue. So I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You will identify this clue at once. Do I make myself clear?
Oh, yes, my lord. It's,
Mr. Naruhodo, I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence, which means you may very well be on the right track.
yes, I think you might be right.
So, counsel, precisely where is the vital clue to this case, which this fourth book conceals?
There it is. Okay, no, look back. It's burnt.
Got it. I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question.
The back? What do you... Good gracious! It's burnt to a crisp!
So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It is undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing.
Objection!
Unnatural, you say? And what of it, my Nipponese friend?
Oh,
Were I to concede the point, if it bears no relation to the case, there is nothing to discuss. So, should you wish to assert that this fire damage is some veiled clue as to what happened that day, pray do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book hide?
a charred book. There's just one possibility here, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance, certainly, worth a try. All right, I'll explain my theory.
Don't keep us waiting any longer then, counsel. Explain this theory of yours. What are you suggesting that you can ascertain from the fire damage to the story this tome has suffered?
Its owner.
Yes.
My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals a startling truth about the book's owner.
I beg your pardon?
But we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping it in her hand as she fell to the floor, after all. It's obviously hers.
The question of how this book came into the victim's hand has yet to be answered. However, as to the questions of who the book really belongs to and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers.
Good gracious, how can you possibly...
Very well. I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may well burn you if your little gamble goes awry.
Counsel, the defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial. So tell the court, who do you claim is the owner of this burnt book?
Well, obviously it's Mr. John Garrideb.
Okay.
Oh,
John.
Take that!
it was one of the two. The answer is that the book belongs to the couple who own the house where the defendant has his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb.
The landlords?
And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know. But, of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Mrs. Garrideb herself.
Oh my goodness, me? I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mr. Garrideb's wife, I'm his maid!
Things would be so much easier if you would just drop the pretense. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garrideb's house?
Oh, I would never presume to know all of the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused landlady, you say? You implicate this hard-working member of the public. You besmirch her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable.
Objection! This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed on the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mr. Garrideb's house.
Good Lord, what sort of incident, counsel?
A fire, my lord.
Afraid so it was. I've done a blink of an eye, you know. Her place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. It didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. Worst of it is, lost my favorite. Book called The Lion's Pride.
Now we get to the heart.
The Lion's Pride.
By Jove! The very same title that's the subject of this debate! Oh dear me!
Objection!
This is risible. All you've told the court is that a book by the same name was involved in a fire. In which case, it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. And entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself to the scene of the crime.
Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was marital discord. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Garrideb was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garrideb even amid the flames.
Oh, how awful! I can't even imagine being so horrid to the one you love. Can you, Raleigh?
Absolutely not, sir. My Patricia would never raise a finger against me, sir.
All my favorite old knobs in that case. As soon as fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh! Up in smoke. Then the wife started hurling things at me. There was I back up against the window under heavy enemy fire. Incendiary books coming in 10 to the dozen. The man had his back up against the window, and he had burning books thrown at him. Goodness gracious, are you suggesting that the book was thrown through a window and landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime?
Objection!
No. The
thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted the very evening of the incident, and there is no report of the Garridub's window pane being broken.
That's quite true. We also saw no sign of broken glass when we visited the Garridub household. But is it not conceivable that the window was open at the time in...
Not even remotely. Let us not forget the season and the chilly weather that accompanies it. No Londoner would ever leave a window open in the middle of winter.
Does the defense postulate this scenario in all seriousness, counsel? Do you earnestly claim that the book found at the scene was a flaming projectile thrown by Mr. Garridub's wife?
I believe it's a possibility, my lord.
That's quite enough. That's quite enough. Well, I hope that everyone can see you for what you are now, you little foreign trickster. You call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward. A mean coward.
Really?
I mean, a little tip set the whole neighborhood on right. Honestly, implying that I'm merely cruising as a maid for our appearance's sake, how could you? It's nothing to do with this beastly case, not any of it. All you've done is sully our family's name.
No, I assure you that was never my intention.
Dragging an upstanding citizen's name through the mud simply to divert attention from your failing defense. I should box your ears, that's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable. Too right.
Here we go.
How long have we sat here now, listening to this Nipponese spouting on his fancy foreign theories? But, think about it. At the end of the day, the only person who could possibly have stabbed the victim is that little hunchback with the mustache. And he ran away from the scene, too.
I do declare you're right.
It's true.
Yes, what did I tell you?
Makes sense to me.
Sorry, what's that?
Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in full agreement. What is your position, Lord Van Zieks?
In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings, but then one must always exercise patience in order to save the best vintage.
No, wait! The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been...
If books are your predilection, my own friend, study them on your own time.
Huh? What? No forgive the discourtesy this time?
In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defendant's culpability for the court to hear.
Take him away.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty!
Oh no, not again.
Thank you for that unambiguous response.
That's twice now. It's over.
Listener Ohodo, don't give up.
Huh? Mr. Sato,
Have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet.
you're not suggesting...
Of course, the defense has the right to another summation examination at this point. You could still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance.
My lord, the defense asks to exercise its right to a summation examination.
You believe you still have tricks up your sleeve.
I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. There's no time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined. To be continued.
Yep, it's been 2 hours, so we're gonna cut it right here.
Okay, boys, so just tune in with us next week for the thrilling conclusion to this trial.
And hopefully next week we will have
How do you say perfectly flawless music without delay?
I mean, we had music this whole time. I guess everything's just been delayed by a couple seconds, but we hope to have everything in sync. So let us go ahead and press the home button and close everything. So I am the Cannonball Alex Steele.
I am the package angel Steel.
We are the Steele Brothers,
And
we
we
are
are
for
for
real.
real.
So tune in next week this same time, and we will have the thrilling conclusion of this trial. Top